Position ourselves a little bit.
Oh, we're live. Oh, you guys gotta wait. Well, you gotta wait because this new YouTube system fucks us so that we turn it on and we don't know if it's really on.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's been really bad that way. So you get the pre-roll.
Hey.
Ready for the music?
Yes.
It's patience. It's a virtue. Welcome.
Herzlich willkommen, meine Damen und Herren.
You stepped into, you
kill
me. Film reviews for
the Reprobates.
And on this week's show, Kasia
and Eugene,
we're going to talk about Joker. All right.
Okay.
Cut the music.
Shut up.
That's our music, so you can't yank the video off for ownership rights. A special project that we're doing called.
Oh my God, we are doing so many special projects, but this one is called Disco Interiors, and you can find us on Bandcamp and SoundCloud and all kinds of stuff.
Though we've yet to finish mixing the record. Anyway, we've done something rare, something that doesn't typically happen on the show, and only happens. It's happened to us with The Servant, Joseph Lucy's movie, Taxi Driver, Martin Scorsese's movie. There have been a few movies. Taxi Driver I've seen about 37 times, so it doesn't really count.
Me probably too.
Yeah, but we saw Joker twice.
We went last Saturday, and we went this Saturday to Alamo to see it in 17mm version.
Mm-hmm. So clearly, we got something going.
Mm-hmm.
We got something going vis-a-vis this flick. Joaquin Phoenix, Todd Phillips, the director, whose work thus far has been fairly unremarkable. I mean, I don't want to crap all over Hangover 1, the 2, and the 3, but that had a super large numbers of talented people. And I'm not saying Joker doesn't. I'm just saying that nothing that Todd Phillips has done before prepared me for this Todd Phillips. And it would have almost been a perfect delivery had he not opened his pie hole about freaking cancel culture. I love it when people start doing internet talk with you. It's like talk that you don't hear. You take somebody who's not been exposed to the internet for the last 5 years, and all of a sudden they can hear it's something weird and jargony, but they don't know what it is. Like, seriously? You don't say that unless you've been exposed to something. Look, we've had national memes for a long time. I know I'm digressing, but Todd Phillips should have kept his mouth shut about cancel culture. Otherwise, this would have been a perfect setup, delivery, and the whole bit. But marred by, I don't need to know your politics, bro. Let's direct movies. Keep your fucking mouth shut. Anyway, sorry.
I managed to actually not read anything about this movie, and
which is how you should see movies.
Still, I still haven't, because I wanna speak about it with like a fresh, mind and unaffected by anything. So
though we have been exposed, she's like taking herself off camera. I don't want you to see how shoddy our Tobacco Row window is and so on. So first of all, you can't have been but exposed to some of the extra cinematic connections to this movie, and I'm speaking specifically of it being a product of incel America and a critical attempts to memorialize it as part of the present conversation. Whether we're talking about, this is just angry white males, these are some latter-day version of Proud Boys. This is some, just like the guy tried to slot it into some kind of internet talk. That is incels, Proud Boys, angry white men, falling down, Michael Douglas, and
no, it's not. This movie is about economically low-class people who are forgotten and not listened to and completely ignored, and they are getting angry at some point. And this movie is a warning in my mind. It's a warning.
It's a cautionary.
Yeah, it's a cautionary tale of what might happen and will happen at some point in America.
Well, and also I think that the critical response in America has been cheapened because now everybody's a critic because everybody's got a mouth instead of eyes and instead of
Just like us.
fingers. Yeah, but at the same time, I think we're given a fair rendering. I think it's reasonable to say. Today, I heard two people tell me they said, "Oh, he ripped off Scorsese and he ripped off." Do you know there's a difference between a ripoff and an homage, right?
Yeah, or like a rip-off and inspiration. Yes, this movie was heavily inspired by Taxi Driver, which
And
was amazing.
and King of Comedy,
Yes,
and Notes from the Underground,
yes.
and French Connection. In essence, I saw this as a throwback to some of the great standalone, not the tent poles, standalone films of the 70s. And if you think that Todd Phillips didn't know what he was doing, which means he did it accidentally, knew what he was doing, but hoped we wouldn't know, which means he was trying to cheat and steal and being sneaky about it, or actually gave a loving nod to these, you would have come. I think with the third one, you would come closer to understanding what it was that he had done when he wasn't opening up his pie hole and complaining about cancel culture, which somehow really irks me because I think it cheapens the movie. Anyway, sorry,
Yeah.
I'm in a rambling mood.
That's okay. Like I'm in a poopy mood, so you can just ramble, and I'm just gonna be here for you.
No, the show is both of us. I want you to talk about the movie. That's why we saw it twice. Why did we see it twice?
I don't know. I just couldn't stop thinking about it after the first time, and I really wanted to see it again. So I was like, "Hey, let's see it again." And Eugene was like, "Okay," but it happens rarely to me that after I watch the movie, I want to see it again immediately. And this one, for some reason, did, and it just, for some reason, touched me very deeply. Like I wanted to connect with that movie again.
Why? I mean, in what manner did it touch you deeply?
I kind of felt like most of us who are watching the show probably, we feel like Joker inside. Like we are all Jokers inside. We are the Joker. We are, that's why I felt like a emotional connection with that character.
Mm-hmm.
I understood what's the problem.
I noted both times, and we saw in two different locales. We saw on the peninsula, which is very kind of very mainstreamy, in a mainstreamy like a Cinemax, not Cinemax, but one of these standard movie theaters with the chains.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it in that context, and then we saw it at Alamo in San Francisco with a slightly hipper audience. And I found that my laughter was frequently out of sync with the laughter of the audience that I watched it with both times.
Yeah, we've been laughing at things that probably normal people are not laughing, but that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's because you're a Joker inside.
Yeah.
And I'm a Joker inside. And those things, we just wanted them to happen. The justice.
Correct.
The justice you're waiting for is happening in this movie.
And something, it was weird, a weird kind of synchronicity. Prior to even the movie coming out and thinking maybe that I want to see the movie, I remember how deeply A Taxi Driver resonated for me as a 17-year-old disaffected, disaffiliated teenager in New York City. How I knew all the places, how that crazy guy, the crazy black guy screaming down the street. I used to have to pass him on the way to high school. Gene Palmer, the street drummer. I remember once him asking me to help him carry his drums across town around to Madison Square Garden. So all of it was super familiar to me. So it resonated. Something had to drive me to see it 37 times. And I was like, well, maybe it was just a product of adolescent angst. And mine lined up with Paul Schrader's perfectly, who was going through post-breakup and feeling alienated. And I go, too bad they don't have one that matches the zeitgeist for older people who I now find, the adjective that I endure, put myself through or embrace is 10 times the kind of intensity it was when I was 17, because now I know better and it still happens. And I go, there's no movie that has a signal. And I finally feel, boom, I see this movie and I'm sitting there when he gives that speech and there's a speech in the movie, and it's not a spoiler, but someone says to the character, he says, so, you feel good about that? And he goes, come on, I don't understand all this sympathy for these pieces of garbage. Look, if it had been the other way around, and I had been lying dead on the sidewalk, you would have stepped over me. And that was a point in the theater where I felt like standing up, like the portage of A.H. to Sam Cristobal about the Mossad who catches Hitler in the jungle, and at the end, one of the Mossad agents goes, he stamps his hands down, he goes, innocent, or something. There's some grand exclamation. That was a point at which I wanted to stand up in the movie and go, exactly. Like, yes. There's some circumstances under which having self-pity, if I punch you in the face and you go, ow, people go, oh, just stop with the self-pity. There's certain situations in which that's a perfectly normal response, to feel bad that I got punched in the face. And if not the first time, certainly by the third time.
Yeah, and not people trying to shame you for the self-pity because they want you to blame yourself for your situation.
Right.
They don't want to take responsibility for the fact you're fucked up and you just got the funds got cut for your mental illness pills and therapy, and you just like,
oh well,
you are all alone now.
Yep.
And there's nobody you can depend on. You're all alone.
Yep.
And then people are like, just get over it.
Yep.
Well, there's something that you cannot get over it
Yep.
with.
Yep.
And it's the society responsibility to help those people.
Yep. Yep.
And it's not happening here in America. It's just not happening. And it's crazy. That's why we have tents on the street. That's why I have to step over fucking homeless people when I'm going to work. And I like, my heart bleeds, but what can I do?
And also, some of us are old enough to remember that the only people who are homeless were people who were committed to the grape, or what we used to call winos. These are people who made principled decisions. Your apartment and your car and all that shit. I don't care. Mm-hmm. I'm going to hang out and I'm going to drink. And good luck to the rest of you. See you on the sidewalk. They were committed. Whole families living in tents on the underpasses. That's new. And you know when it started? It started when Reagan got in the office. That's when it started. And he said, you want mental health? Pay for mental health. People talking about homelessness? Really? I see plenty of homes for sale in the newspaper. That kind of...
Let them eat cake if they're starving.
Yeah. Let's talk to the nation of France to see if that worked very well. Bastille Day, when the tambourine started rolling and they started chopping heads off of people. The reality of it is, somebody on the radio last week was talking about societies just refuse to accept, certain societies on this planet refuse to accept this. They just refuse. In the same way, given that there's a capitalist society, in the same way we refuse casual access to capital. I guarantee you, if I rob a bank and try to walk home, I'm not making it home.
Mm-hmm.
Yet if I get sick, can't pay your bills, can't pay your mortgage, you're on the street. So we both agreed, looked at this movie, it's a class drama.
Yeah, it is. Definitely it is a class drama.
I mean,
excellent one.
Yeah, so it's like, this whole, want a good education? Pay for a good education. Want this? Pay for this. Oh, I got mine, you get yours, fuck you. That doesn't really work. They said that the rich, the super wealthy, have gone from paying like a 63% tax rate back in the 70s to like today, where it's like 21%. Are you kidding me? Are you out of your minds? Are you out of your mind? What was that statistic you told me about yesterday?
Oh yeah, like
$5,000 a day.
If you would make $5,000 a day from the time Columbus stepped on, in America,
1492
till now, every day $5,000, you wouldn't be a billionaire.
Yep.
It's just not. It's not a natural state.
And I know 3.
They shouldn't like exist.
And it's a freak of nature. It doesn't. There's not. You don't need it.
It's impossible to make that money for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So how does it even happen? Like, why?
Yeah.
And then why, when this happens, you have homeless people living on the street, not drunks, not drug addicts. Some of them are just simply, they didn't have luck and they got sick or mentally ill.
Oh, were you telling me about the opera singer?
Yeah.
The opera singer who's like living on the streets of LA. Got sick, couldn't afford to pay. On the street. I read something about some guy went to Yale, started a business. The business went belly up on the street. Oh, so long, bro.
Yeah.
So I mean, fundamentally, Joker was a character who was a living example of Travis Bickle's speech, mirror speech. Here is a man who would not take it anymore. Who, sorry, I'm sorry that people think it's incitement to dangerous activity, but maybe again an abnormal response. Who said, not Gerhard Richter, but who was it who said, James, Varieties of Religious Experience, I think wrote this book. He said an abnormal response, or was it Roland Lang? I can't remember, or Bart, somebody, one of those guys you read in college. The abnormal response to abnormal stimuli is perfectly normal.
Mm-hmm.
So, needless to say, but we're going to say it anyway. I think you should see the movie.
Oh, you should.
And we've actually successfully reviewed it without spoiling
I'm
it for
really,
you.
really trying. I'm really trying to like not say anything and give you like a legit review without spoiling.
But you don't have to. I mean, it's an origin story for the comic
Yeah.
book character. So if you've been paying attention to pop culture for the last 40 years, you got it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, and the thing is, if you liked Heath Ledger, and in my mind, secretly, I'd have never said anything, but in my mind, I was like, that was probably apotheosis of Jokerhood. I can't imagine the kid Leto did it in the Suicide Squad. Man, that wasn't.
Oh no, that was.
That was not
it was a very different performance. I mean, it's like if you would ask me, and many people did ask me, do you think Phoenix was better than Heath Ledger? I was like, no, he wasn't. He was different. These were two different performances, even though kind of they were close to each other, but they were very different.
And I could in the video editing machine of my mind, it actually worked as a real origin story.
Mm-hmm.
So if I laid them side by side, I could look at the Joaquin Phoenix one as being the prequel, and Heath Ledger being a little bit down the road. Fundamentally the same character, much closer in my mind than anything that came before with the Jack Nicholson kind of
like
scenery.
Phoenix was definitely like a normal, just a person, just a dude who had to work and was trying to succeed in stand up, but it wasn't very successful, and he was trying to in general like function in a society, and he wasn't very successful in that way too. But what surprised me about this movie was how good of a dancer is Felix. It's just freaking amazing. Like every time when he was starting, I feel like he was dancing in situations that were kind of stressful, and he needed to kind of like mobilize himself. He was looking for mobilization and kind of reconnect himself with his body.
Well, that one of those scenes, there's a scene when he's in the bathroom, where that was actually improvised. Where the whole crew and everybody was waiting, and he said, Todd Phillips, the director, wanted to have a word with him. He goes, "Well, just step in here," and they started talking, and he had a little like a handheld Araflex or something, and he started talking to him, and Phoenix just started doing this thing. He goes, "No, I see him moving more," and he just started doing this whole freaking dance. He just recorded with a single camera. Goes, "That's it. That's it."
It was like really every little hair on my body was just standing.
Well, of course, he started life as a dancer.
Yeah.
He and his brother and his sisters were dancing on the street, singing and dancing on the street for coins. So again, he is a good actor, but what is it Bukowski said? He goes, everybody suffers, but nobody suffers like the poor suffer. And he was genuinely without means. The family was like living in a van, and they were dancing on the street they were busking, with a fancy post-hippie word for begging on the street for coins to feed a fairly large family after they escaped from the cult that they were part of. And they were part of some kind of semi-quasi-religious cult, So I think fundamentally, I always hate like people like tough guys who are not tough playing tough guys in movies. You can always smell it. It doesn't smell real. And I think if it was played by somebody who didn't have a working knowledge of poverty, it would have stunk like Hollywood. And this didn't stink like Hollywood definitely.
At all. And then he probably also knew how it is to get kicked in the back every fucking second day.
Yeah.
because he got a lot of beating in this movie. So
okay, so here we go with our rating segment. Oh, hold on, let me get my hands free.
yeah, we have a very improvised studio here.
We gotta do it this way, and you do it that way, and the 1, and the 2, and the 3. Yeah. Don't know if you can see that. That's a 10. It's our second 10 ever.
Yeah. But I feel like this one is really legit. We've seen the movie twice, and I want to see it again. I really want to see it again.
This guy gets kind of pricey.
I know. Like I wait. I will buy it on CD.
Yeah. There we go. The DVD. I think what was the other 10 that we gave? I think it was Black Panther.
Black Panther. It was really good too, but I haven't seen it second time.
Yeah. So this is
the Joker is really worth seeing twice. Yeah. And then of course, second time when I was watching it second time, I was paying attention to different things.
Yep.
Which was it's amazing that every time you can find different things.
Yep.
In it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, in the comments, you missed the beginning. You have to go back and watch it, but it is worth seeing, and we actually managed to review it without spoiling it for you. If you know Notes of the Underground, Taxi Driver, King of Comedy, it's a pastiche of some of these. I say a loving homage. Worst critics are saying things like, it's a ripoff. Not worth seeing. We've seen it twice, and that is the final word. Anything else? What do we miss?
I will probably miss. We always have those very fiery discussions right after the movie, and I always want to record it at the moment, but it's very hard to. It's like
we talked about. We don't have to talk about what we can't do in the show. The people want to watch it. Talk about what we can do. We talked about that, about the whole incel thing right at the beginning. You got to go listen. We just dismissed it out of hand. Cancel culture, fuck that. Incel thing, fuck that. Proud Boys thing, fuck that. Or throw anything you want out.
It has nothing to do with incels. It has everything to do with economical low class people.
In fact, I think that those charges are leveled by the kind of people that fund this movie. Because the idea that people will. The idea that people will actually rise up and kill the rich is. I remember once Steven Tyler had on a T-shirt that said "Eat the Rich," and I was thinking,
Steven Tyler?
Yeah, from Aerosmith.
Isn't he the rich?
And I was thought, well, wait a minute, he's rich. Oh, I get it. He's telling me to blow him. So that's what Steven Tyler is telling me to do. And we've been hearing that largely in America since 1980, and had it. I've had it, Yeah, I mean, look, have I personalized it? Yes. Have I looked at how much my cost of living has gone up versus how much my salary has gone up? Yes.
But then we could afford to buy tickets twice, so it's not that bad, Eugene.
But we bought it with credit cards.
We did. Yeah, that's true.
Which, come to us in 3 weeks, so we got to pay those credit cards.
Yeah, see how
happy we're going to be then. We saw it twice. So, anyway, thanks for listening. Jason, go back.
You just gotta watch it again.
It's only 20 minutes. It's not that. It's not like the hell those shows on this channel where we just go on and on and on and on. So anyway, thanks for listening. We'll see you. Yeah, that's from the movie. Yeah, A Loving Travels of Bicklitude. See it, enjoy it. Leave your comments below. Up in the top where it says subscribe to the channel.
And
subscribe.
Tell us what you think after you watch it.
And you have made recommendations. I think probably based on what's in the movies now, the next thing that we're aching to see is Parasite. So until then, do we have do we have a signing off line for here? What is it?
I forgot because we're not doing it.
All right. We'll see you later.
I gotta sleep. Bye, guys.
Bye. Yeah.